Hey, good morning. Good to be with you again in Second Samuel. As we move on to Second Samuel 8 and 9, we're going to take those two together. And what we've seen last time in Second Samuel 7 is David just received the covenant from the Lord, and he says that he's going to establish his throne forever. He's going to place his son there, and through him, he's going to have a king on the throne for all eternity. And we saw that ultimately was pointing to Jesus Christ, and Christ would be and is on the throne as we know now. But after David receives the covenant, he goes and sets out to establish peace by removing all of the enemies of Israel. This was Israel's call to go and take the land, remove those in the land and the idols and all of that. So David goes out, and we read in 2 Samuel 8:6 that the Lord gives victory to David everywhere he goes. Not just because David is a great warrior, but the Lord is establishing his kingdom. He's showing that he is in control, that he is the anointed one. And as the anointed king, the Lord grants David over all of Israel's enemies. He grants victory to David over all of their enemies. This Saul was struggling with that because he approached this in a very selfish way. But David follows the Lord, and the Lord he blesses him with victory. Now, it was pretty customary after a king is established to destroy everyone who is in the previous kingdom. That way, there's no one who rises up and tries to take the kingdom back. So Saul, in his house, normally, the king would come in and destroy everyone. But David, he's not concerned about that. He's actually more concerned about blessing the house of Saul. He has the covenant. He believes that the Lord's word is true, so he's not worried that his throne is going to get taken. He wants to make good on his covenant with Jonathan. He made a covenant to bless the house of Jonathan as a king. So he seeks out anyone in the house of Saul. We see it in 2 Samuel 9:1. And David said, "Is there anyone left in the house of Saul that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake?" And he finds out that Jonathan's son is still alive. So he sends for him so that he can bless him. So we see in verses 6 through 8. And Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, he didn't have a very easy name, son of Saul, came to David and fell on his face and paid homage. And David said, "Mephibosheth." And he answered, "Behold, I am your servant." And David said to him, "Do not fear, for I will show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan, and I will restore to you all the land of Saul your father, and you shall eat at my table always." And he paid homage and said, "What is your servant, that you should show regard for a dead dog such as I?" And when I read this final verse, verse 8, let me read it again. And he paid homage and said, "What is your servant, that I should show regard, that you should show regard for a dead dog such as I?" I cannot help but think about our salvation. The Lord seeks us out by his own free sovereign grace, his own free sovereign will. He's not propelled by anything other than his desire to bless us. And he searches us out like David searches out Mephibosheth, and he seeks to give us grace. And he brings us to himself, not because we're strong, not because we're capable. Jonathan's son was crippled. And he could do nothing. He wasn't a benefit to David. He couldn't be a strong warrior or anything like that. And we ourselves were crippled with sin. So he blesses us with the faith, and he restores us to our inheritance in Jesus Christ, and calls us to eat at his table always, just as David does Jonathan's son. And I think we forget sometimes the out of the way mercy that God has given us, the grace that he has shown us. We forget that he has gone out of his way, that he didn't have to do this. We have been given a place at the table of our King as sons and daughters of the King. And the one who conquers all of our enemies, the one who's bringing our peace, allows us to sit with him in his kingdom at peace. And I believe in this time of chaos for us, as we just see chaos around us in all the rioting and in the pandemic and everything else, we need to remember who we are as Christians. We need to remember the grace that we've received. We need to remember how far God has gone to help us to sit at his table. We need to stop focusing on fear. We need to stop focusing on the fake news around us, or just bad news. We should be aware. We should know what's going on, but we should ultimately be resting in the fact that we are children of the King. So yeah, the world is in chaos, but our King, Jesus Christ, is on the throne. And we can see that, we know that, we have that promise. We have a promise of the future renewed heavens and earth. So may we learn to be like Mephibosheth. In verse 13, we read, "And Mephibosheth lived in Jerusalem, for he ate always at the king's table." So let us remember that we can always eat at the king's table. Don't forget who you are as a Christian. Be blessed. Have a wonderful week. God bless you. See you later.